Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's Ag Report. So this week, going to do something a little different. It is inspired by a friend of mine named Scott from the Beard Commander in BC Seasonings and Rubs. He sent me a message and he said, you know what? He said, John, he said, I'm driving around and he said, quote, things that make me go, huh. He said, I've got a couple of questions. Maybe you could kind of tell me what I'm seeing. And so I appreciate that. Like we've always talked about on here, try and reach out to a producer if you have questions or if you're wondering about, what you're seeing out there. And that's exactly what he did. So what I'm going to do is just going to kind of hit some things that you may be seeing out there. And maybe you've kind of scratched your head and wondered, now, why are they doing that? Or what are they doing? So Scott had asked why he is seeing strips of corn left in the field. Usually this is about 4 rows. It will be random I say random. There's a method to the madness, but you'll be going along and you will just see 4 rows left across the field. And then you'll go a little ways and maybe on the far end of the field, you'll see another 4. And it may be completely plowed all the way around it. And you're thinking, well, holy smokes, why did they do that? So what you are seeing are strips that have been left so that the corn can go to maturity and be appraised. They're called appraisal strips. So what could have been done to the rest of the crop, more than likely, is it was chopped for silage to be used in dairy feed, maybe in a feedlot feed, something like that. They green chop that at around 35 to 33% moisture. So the kernels haven't dented or anything like that. They're still yellow and plump, much like you would see on your little green niblet corn, something like that, your roasting ear kind of a deal. So you cannot get a appraisal of what that crop would make at that point. You have to let it finish the growing and dry down to do that. So they leave those strips, and there is a method to the madness. They have to be all the way through the field, and they have to be ever so many 100 yards, or depending on the size of the field, you may have to leave 2 of them if it's not a very large field. And so that's what that is for. So a crop adjuster will come out at a later point. They will pull those ears, weigh the sample, measure count how many ears they get, and I forget the calculation. It's maybe it's 20 feet. They pull so many ears and calculate it out. That gives them the yield. These may say, well, who cares about that? The crop's already done. Well, farmers care about that because it is important for our crop history. We are on a 10-year rolling average, and it takes the highs and the lows, and it gives an average of what each producer produces. If you're farming less than 10 years, then you would take the county average. But that's what that's for, is that's to plug a number in of that crop would have made a certain yield. And so that's why they're left. A lot of times after they are appraised, and the farmer has to get back together with the guy, go over those numbers. They make sure they agree on those numbers. Sometimes if it's a crop share, meaning there's a landlord involved that has a vested interest in that. A lot of the land is cash leased, but sometimes it is worked on the shares. So the landlord will also be involved to make sure that they agree with that number that's been picked, and everybody signs off on it. And then they can finish out that crop and go on. So that's what you're seeing with those corn strips. Something else you may see that you don't see too often, every once in a while in our area, you'll see this. The cotton fields, you may have noticed that instead of being planted consistently, meaning parallel rows in every row all the way across, you may see skips where you have 2 rows and then nothing, and then 2 rows and then nothing. And you may wonder, well, did they run out of seed, or do they have a breakdown in the planter, or what's going on there? So that is a form of skip row cotton, okay? That is used in areas, obviously, we don't have irrigation, so we rely on natural rainfall for that. And it is mainly used more west of here in a little more dry. Highway 35 kind of splits the imaginary line of where rainfall uh, changes. East of that gets a little heavier. West of that gets a little dry, a little more arid. And so that is a very common farming practice, skip row planting out west. And that is to utilize the moisture that's available. And by skipping those rows, having nothing in between there, cotton has a tap root and a good root system. It can kind of suck that moisture out of that skip row back into that plant. Like I say, it's been tried here, you know, off and on, that kind of stuff. Uh, Maybe if folks feel like it's going to be a dry year, they plant it again. But generally, we plant solid across. But I did notice that there is some skip row cotton out there again this year, and so that's what you're seeing when you drive by and see that. Now, with that, and with any crop, the key is plant population. So we watch very closely how many seeds we are dropping per acre. Okay. And so when you do like a skip row type of a deal, or you plant on narrower rows, you can up that population just a little bit sometimes, because you're putting it in a little more concentrated kind of an area in there. But, you know, like I say, not as a general rule, you can't get real crazy with it. Again, it depends on where you are and what county you're in. Different counties will up their population a little bit because maybe they get some beneficial rains in the summer. What you have to think about is, you think, oh, well, you know, you just plant more and you make more. Well, that's not true. You have to have the water to sustain that plant. Because what happens is, if you plant more, you get all these green plants and nothing can make any grain or make any lint in the case of cotton, that kind of stuff. And you just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So you have to find that happy balance, and there's no, you know, set rule to this. There's no, you know, definite thing. It's just kind of what your ground and what you are comfortable with. You can nudge it down a little bit. That's a little less plants, but it'll make a little bigger head or bigger ear. Or you can nudge it up a little bit, hoping for some rainfall, that kind of stuff. But in a dry year, you're gonna, you know, have some little niblets out there if you're talking about corn or something like that. So anyways, like I say, that's why farming is you know, it's the way that it is. Nothing is set in stone. It depends on that producer, depends on the equipment that he has, depends on the dirt that he has. And even though we're all in Ellis County, we all have different kinds of dirt. You go out towards the 5 Points area out there, you can get into some lighter, chalkier kind of ground, a little more shallow. You go east over towards Ferris, you can get down in the river bottom there, some heavy clay, some loamy land. Avalon, you can get in some sandy ground. So even though Ellis County may not be that big, there's lots of different soil types in there. So anyways, just wanted to give you, as Scott would say, some answers to things that make you go, as you drive down the road. I hope this has helped. As always, if you have some things that make you go, send us a message or a comment, call the Waxahachie Sun and ask them, say, hey, what's going on over here? And we'll be happy to research it and find you out and get you some truthful answers from producers here around Ellis County. We hope y'all have enjoyed this edition. Y'all take care now.